Hi, welcome to Citizens Council. This is a new podcast that we're doing. It's a video cast this week, where we're going to be attending city council meetings and then discussing them afterwards so that the public can stay well informed with what's happening in our city and the city government. So without further ado, tonight's meeting was exciting. There were a lot of people there. Most notably, I suppose, before the session was called to order, there was a little altercation between Councilor Ian Abreu and a city resident. The city resident said that Councilor Abreu had flip-flopped on his stance regarding the city's blackout policies with the fire department. They exchanged some words, and the court officer, or the police officer for the day, had to come over and remind the resident to be respectful. After the meeting, Ian Abreu and I spoke briefly, and he told me that he would like the public to simply read his statement because he did not flip-flop his opinions or his statements regarding the blackouts. But, I mean, why don't we talk about it for a minute? Ian? This is Ian, by the way.
Hi.
He doesn't like the spotlight.
No, I don't.
How do you feel about the city's blackout policy and more specifically, the decision to end the blackouts in exchange for shutting down Engine and Station 11 entirely?
Well, what are they going to do about it? That's the thing. So you have a faction of city, some protesters. You have the union, fire union, local IF, and some folks, Councilor Gomes, yourself, all shown up. Channel 12, I think, was there at the station, and we've all said, hey, look, this is a bad idea. What are you going to do for a year with no fire station? You're going to pull from the north end? Pete Wild said the same thing. You know, there are residents in town that know the apparatus that we have, the ladders, the engines, and stuff that we don't have enough. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if our fire rating loses a peg, if the administration is going to still tout that whichever the rating we have, it's a high rating for the fire response. If we lose one, I guarantee there'll be some kind of action, but as of yet, it's just, we're not going to do anything. And you see the movement lost steam. People don't care. I mean, they care vicariously. They care on Facebook or something, but it's all...
I don't think that we can say that people don't care. I think that that's overstepping things. People have jobs. People have bills. People have other things that are more pressing in their lives.
No, fair enough. The average person is working, just as the government is. But I mean, the stance isn't going to change. Like, I guess from what I've heard, the administration, Mitchell is saying, look, we're going to do it anyway. So okay, so now what? Now we all have a standoff, and there's just nothing going to happen.
Hang on. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm not for the closing of any station. By the way, I believe that our fire department should be fully funded. But let's just keep in mind that there are circumstances that we are not aware of.
Do you know who should be aware of those circumstances? The new fire chief. So tonight you said they elected a new fire chief. Gomes retired. When did he retire? A year ago? So the county fire guy has been looking over the city for a while, and supposedly, I don't know if the district covers the city or what, but you've got a new official in there. What's he going to do? What's his stance on things? Who's interviewing that guy?
Tonight, at the meeting, Mayor Mitchell submitted the appointment of Matthew Ostiguy to the position of District Fire Chief. Congratulations. He has been an employee of the New Bedford Fire Department for 26 years, so that's really impressive. And his family was there.
I'm Matthew Ostiguy. Do solemnly swear Fire Chief.
To the best of my ability and understanding.
To the best of my ability and understanding.
In accordance with the Constitution of the United States.
In accordance with the Constitution of the United States.
The laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
The laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
And the Charter and ordinances of the City of New Bedford.
And the Charter and ordinances of the City of New Bedford. So help me God.
I would be very interested to find out what his stance is on the blackout and how he feels about Station 11. Station 11 was slated to be retired when the new public safety facility opened.
2021.
So I feel like we're leaving a gap in coverage by closing that down early. I would also I'd like to see some numbers on it. How much money are we saving there? Are we saving money there? And at the end of the day, is it worth the risk? That's not for me to answer right now, but something to keep in mind. All right, so
He was appointed. He'll probably take position, immediately, I would guess. I mean, I'm not sure if it's an election. It was a nomination, right? You said
it was an appointment.
Appointment by the administration, by the mayor. So he's just in place now. And so he's running the show of the district, whichever. We have to look into what that means. But, you have another official, 26 years. He knows what he's doing. He's obviously been at the forefront of firefighting. He's probably in operations. He's probably been on a ladder, been on an engine. He knows what the guys are going through.
It's important to note also that our response time in the city is so good that we have achieved the highest ranking for fire response by the insurance. There's an organization that ranks.
Yeah, there's a name for it. And then the campaign does kind of mention that a lot, and that's more to the credit of the people doing it.
It's to the credit of the fire department. Absolutely, 100%.
They're the ones making it happen.
Absolutely, and it's important to also know. I spoke with an insurance provider who assured me that the only way that homeowners insurance will increase in the area is if we happen to lose that fire rating. And he also told me that even if we slipped from a 1 to a 2, the difference that people would see in their homeowners insurance bill is relatively low. But not to worry, we have not lost our fire rating as of now. And I think that it would take quite a bit to actually lose that. I'm not entirely certain, but
just keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it. I have faith in our fire department, though. It's putting a lot of pressure on them, but okay. So the next thing that was spoken about was it's something actually that's going to hit home with you and I.
Is it the landlord thing?
It is the landlord thing. I'm trying to find it. Sorry. There was a lot of take no further actions on Councilor Gomes's written motions, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But first, I wanted to talk about this new motion.
Well, what's Councilor Gomes sending out there? He's just sending stuff to committee and then it's coming back with, we're not going to do anything, or what?
Basically, Councilor Gomes submitted several written motions recently to increase security at City Hall. Apparently, City Hall had a break-in.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, it's not just them.
Here we go. Just to read one of them. Councilor Gomes has submitted a written motion requesting that the Committee on Public Safety and Neighborhoods meet with a representative of Avalon Security Camera Company. The company responsible for the installation and monitoring of City Hall surveillance cameras. The police chief, the Department of Facilities and Fleet Management, and a representative of the mayor's office for the purpose of discussing the break-in that occurred at City Hall and whether all security cameras were in working order. Further requesting that outside cameras be installed at the northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest corners of City Hall. And further, that a surveillance monitoring system be placed inside of City Hall in an assigned office of the police officer for the day, along with a recording system that records all movements of the interior and exterior of City Hall 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And all cameras be hooked up to the police department's surveillance system.
How much is that going to cost, for one? And who's going to pay that?
I'm sorry.
The taxpayers going to watch City Hall? Who in New Bedford has had a break-in? We had a guy piss in our front yard one time. So.
Hey.
But I'm just saying, like where's our camera system?
Well, hang on.
Taxpayers' money.
I just have a quick question, and that is, you're going to be monitoring City Hall 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but how many hours is City Hall actually open? It's open from, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday.
Yeah, they're min-staffed.
You had one break-in, and now you need 24-hour monitoring of all movements? And I'm just saying, there are probably better places that energy and expense could be.
Yeah, how about Bowman Park Zoo? Councilor Abreu was over there. Whatever happened to the cameras in that parking lot that was on WBSM and everything else? That I forgot what exactly happened, but some kind of crime happened and there were no cameras. There may be a motion still on the table to
again, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, but whatever crime is happening in the Buttonwood Park Zoo parking lot. I'm sorry, Buttonwood parking lot.
The kid was almost abducted, I think, or something.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's a
big
thing.
But I'm just saying it was something. The average citizen uses. I would say maybe that. I don't know. A lot of people go into City Hall.
Here's the thing. You're expending a lot of resources. They're saying they want these cameras to be hooked up to the police department surveillance system. If we're going to have more surveillance of the city by the police department, it should be on North Front Street.
Yeah.
It should be on Acushnet Avenue. It should be on not the City Hall. If there's cobblestones outside the building, it doesn't need any more surveillance.
Yeah, there's not focus out that way. And it's just interesting how quickly... to Councilor Gomes' credit, he's one of the few people on that damn council that actually submits motions. I don't see anybody. These people went to such lengths to knock on doors to get elected, and they don't say anything in these meetings. He's the only guy, I will say this, he's the only guy that's actually putting a motion forward. Now, that particular motion saying he puts a bunch of them in all the time. He's always putting in motions.
24 of them?
That's good. Put in a bunch of them, because some of them we're going to disagree with.
Actually, all of them got sent back as no further action, unfortunately. Some of them, I'm sorry to have started off with that one seems a little bit ridiculous, but some of them are really good. He's saying he wants, here's a good one. Many people speak about the mayor saying that the crime rates have dropped, but have they really? Well, part of the reason for the question mark there is because there is no liaison between the New Bedford Police Department and the FBI, which there used to be. But that position has been empty for several years.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, exactly. And Councilor Gomes, I believe, has submitted a motion saying, hey, fill that spot. Let's keep everyone up to date on our crime activity. It kind of sounds like...
Where's the response to that? Where's the...
It was, I believe it's take no further action.
Take no further action. So, I mean, and the numbers have been in question for a long time. People
Years.
saying that, it's on the downward slope of crime, but you walk out there and City Hall's being broken into. Now you're just finding out, we got a problem. Anybody who lives here knows that there's a problem anywhere they go.
Well,
it's not like it's just,
keep in mind,
Disneyland out here.
Keep in mind, there are neighborhoods that experience far less crime, and there are neighborhoods that experience more.
Far north then. I guess if you're a criminal, you don't want to travel that far. The bus route doesn't end up there or whatever. But it's just that there are a lot of hot spots that are, you know, where's that type of urgency that, you know, everyone in their campaign trail, and all councilors, let's say, are public safety is number one in my book. Where's your motion? And Gomes, let's just be honest, is the only person putting forth any effort. He is the chair on the public safety committee. So is Morad. Where's her motion? All right, what's she have to say about this? You know, why is it one guy putting forth all these things that have no action on the end of them? It's just a bunch of empty fluff.
I think
It's a bunch
Morad
of
puts some motions through as well.
Maybe I haven't seen him. Well, maybe they're on there. I haven't read the thing. You know, we're going over it now, and the people in New Bedford certainly haven't. You know, everybody looked through this stuff.
So moving on, the police department welcomed 3 new officers. Congratulations. They are Andy Pereira, Vincent Peters, and Matthew Greathead. They have been newly appointed as New Bedford police officers. Congratulations and welcome. Councilors Morad and Gomes presented them with citations and had some really nice words to say about them. So that was very nice.
And we're doing that right. Like all the academy graduations and stuff are done pretty well.
And this was the new piece of business that I was speaking of. The Committee on Public Safety and Neighborhoods recommending that the City Council request Legislative Council to look into whether or not the city can require all landlords to conduct criminal background checks on potential tenants prior to entering into a rental lease agreement with them. And furthermore, if it is legal to do so, that he submit recommendations for amending the problem property ordinance accordingly. So this is a big one. We're landlords here in New Bedford, and there are a few things on either side I'd like to mention here. Number one, everyone wants a safer neighborhood, and what do you think, Ian?
What was the motion again? What was it?
They want to see if it's legal to require landlords to conduct criminal background checks on potential tenants.
You know what they should do, instead of like making more legislation for private industry, they should go ask whoever invented New Bedford is open for business if that's a real statement in this town. Because I'll tell you what, landlords are a weed that grows here. Not to be like a pun or anything, but I mean, what business is open? Where is New Bedford open for business? Why is it? And it's been since Steve Martin, since John Mitchell. Everyone's like, you know who's bad in this town? The landlord.
Well,
so
hang
landlord
on.
Batman has to come in here and fight crime.
Please don't start talking about landlord Batman.
Landlord Batman. If you're gonna make it the landlord's responsibility to control crime, deputize them. Send them to a police school. If you want landlords to deal with crime,
don't do that.
No, I mean that's you're crossing a line.
Don't do that.
You're crossing a line in the sand.
You are crossing a line there.
No.
You want to be deputized?
They're saying that you've introduced criminal background checks into housing.
So that's not deputizing someone. That's checking their criminal background. Here, all I have to say is...
You're making the responsibility of the landlord to look at someo's past criminal behavior. But that's a responsibility of like a detective.
I'm sorry, but they should be looking at their...
Okay. Well,
landlords are given a Corey account to conduct background investigations on prospective tenants. The problem is that, number one, the Corey account that they give to landlords is barely more than basic. So it doesn't really pull a whole lot of information. The second problem is that the state of Massachusetts doesn't exactly make it easy to look up criminal backgrounds and criminal records. And at the end of the day, if we send them to prison, if they pay their dues, if we're saying that we're rehabilitating these people, these individuals, shouldn't they be restored their rights? And then, and actually HUD, Housing and Urban Development, as well as FHA and Fair Housing, I believe, have argued that it's discrimination.
This landlord thing, what you're doing is you're putting forward someone's personal information, and you're giving a landlord some court jargon, and you're expecting them to interpret that and make a decision based on it when they have no training to do so. Okay, a landlord is not a lawyer, is not a judge, is not a police officer or anything else. They are a housing provider.
What about Landlord Batman?
Landlord Batman, you want to call him into action, then all the rules are off. It's fair game. He's got a taser beam and a bat thing. He can just go get people. I mean, that's just what this city has said for such a long time, is that every problem, every dog abuse thing, every drug sold out of a building, every person hurt in a building, every domestic violence dispute is a problem of the landlord because they should have known.
Well, now here's hey.
About your neighbor. Now, what about the neighbor? Is it now the neighbor's problem if something's going on next door to your house? What responsibility do you have to know what's going on in their house?
That doesn't make any sense.
That's the next step.
Well, what I would tend to say is there needs to be accountability, okay? And the accountability needs to fall on the person who has the power to change the action. And here's what I mean by that. The city has a thing with ticketing. Well, they ticket assets here only, but ticketing property owners for litter. Now, they don't ticket the person littering, they ticket the property owner. Most times it's not the property owner that's littering, that's throwing trash on their own property. So by ticketing the property owner, there's no way that they could solve the problem. There's nothing that the property owner can do to stop someone else from littering on their property. And the person who actually littered is not being taught any lesson. In fact, they're being enabled.
They can put surveillance cameras on the southwest.
It does not work.
Northeast.
It does not work. You might think the only time a surveillance camera is going to be of any use is if the person littering is actually a tenant of the property owner, and can be fined that way. If you were to call the New Bedford Police Department and say, I have a video of someone throwing a candy wrapper on my property, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that there's going to be a large criminal, investigation into that? No. So cameras are pretty useless for that purpose.
And for City Hall. I
would say that there's a few different sides of this this landlord criminal background check. I'm not opposed to it.
Who's going to pay for it?
There you go. Hold on. The state of Massachusetts has required that no application fee or upfront fee besides first, last, security not equaling more than 1 month, and a lock change fee can be charged to any tenant by the landlord. The landlord is not allowed to charge an application fee at all. Criminal background checks cost about $25 a piece? $30. So is that going to be absorbed by the landlord? I would assume so. Is that fair?
No, you know who's going to be absorbed by is the tenants.
The tenants. At
all times. People wonder why rents go up. There's a huge faction in the city that's like, hey man, my rent's too high. Well, you want to know why? Because you keep getting leveraged against these weird ordinances, and some of them don't even comply with state regulation, but it's like, now you got to do this. Or now I'm going to charge you $600 because somebody threw a Kleenex on the street that ended up on the sidewalk that's in front of your place.
That's an exaggeration.
It is. But I'm saying, like, that is those are the things that happen, and you can't get blood out of a stone. The money has to come from somewhere. It's like there's no free money from the government. The money always comes from somewhere, and at the end of the day, it will come from the person renting. As long as people know why that happens, because it seems to be like, you know what, that bad landlord raised my rent. It's their fault, and it's a decision that a landlord makes to raise someone's rent. But what would you do? Where would you go to get that money? To give to the city, to give to the state, or whoever has to be paid in this scenario.
That's a good point.
You could go and get a second job or a third. Landlord, usually for a lot of people, is a second job already. So you have to go get in that third job now. And that's another thing. Where are you going to go get a third job in New Bedford? There's tracts of land. There's even nothing on them. It's open for business, but we just shoot the landlords in the foot They're like the only business we have here. That are willing to stay here. Well,
We don't want to be taxed like.
You're taxing like a business.
No, you're not. That's property taxes. That's taxes that everyone pays regardless of whether or not you're a landlord. What I mean by taxes is go and ask the people who have the hotel tax, the room tax, because it's significant. I mean,
they call it a hotel tax. It's a little bit different.
Okay, well, I believe that they are also applying that towards rooming houses and some boarding houses, which means it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. In fact, I believe I read recently that Florida has been taxing rents. Now, the tax would probably fall on the tenant, but trust me, if it can be done, it will be done here, and they will start taxing those rents, because if you look around, there's not a whole lot of business here. There really isn't. So where do you think extra revenue is going to come from? Well, it has to come from somewhere, and we're not too good with issuing building permits and approving things. So the smart money says that they're going to impose taxes on things that are already happening. So I would assume that sometime in the next decade, we might see rental tax.
Here's a problem with the
There's $17 million worth of rents collected every single year. That's a large amount of revenue changing hands with no tax on it. So
few businesses in here. You're not just landlords, small restaurants. Every small business that opens here gets freaking swamped.
True.
With all of these different fees and things. And while the narrative at the municipal and state level is that we are open for business, we're
lighting the way.
Lighting the way. We're doing all these things to help people open businesses, to give jobs to our residents. Okay, now there are a few grants out there. There are a few. If you create 5 jobs, you get this grant. But
they're negligible.
Anybody out there tried to actually get one of those?
We did.
I'll tell you, it's not easy.
They're not easy to get.
You have to fill out all the papers in triplicate, and you get it wrong, they send it right back to you. So it's
but
not
here's the thing.
as easy as you think.
Here's the thing. While I understand what you're saying, part of the grants is forgiveness of property taxes for a certain amount of years. So it's not necessarily, it's shifting the tax burden. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fine. You don't look, someone wants to open a business in an old mill. Let's just say they're going to come in, they're going to spend or even a new development site, like the $3 million site.
Don't mention any names.
No, the $3 million site down the river. Okay, so you give them, let's say, a tax break for 5 years. And say, look, you guys are not going to pay too many taxes for this amount of time to get on your feet. But you know what? After that, you put them to the normal tax rate. That's the type of thing that should help. I guess there's pilots and stuff out there. But most of those... Pilots are something
entirely different. A pilot is called a payment in lieu of tax. Basically, that's for exempt properties that are exempt from paying property taxes, not ones that are forgiven for a certain amount of time to reward or to encourage community development or economic development. The pilots are for, like, New Bedford Housing Authority pays a $300,000 pilot to make up for the fact that they pay no property taxes. That's what a pilot is. It's not...
All right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, before people start going and saying, you know what, we need to get more money out of these landlords or out of these residents or out of these people or out of these businesses, maybe look at the whole picture. And, like, there are some people that are not paying taxes literally at all. So why
Why
would you approach the people that are paying taxes already?
Because they are able to pay.
Or business, because they're able to pay, but you already raised their taxes, and hit them up again.
True.
Before you hit that person that hasn't paid any taxes. I'm
just
saying,
now, hang on.
Is that fair?
It's not necessarily fair. Okay.
Is that sustainable? Can you tax the crap out of people? What's going to happen? People can't afford it. They can't afford it.
Of course it's sustainable. We're still here.
We are. Okay.
Now listen.
Keep raising the taxes then.
What the city does, there's a problem. The city has a difficult problem to address, and that is how to enforce their ordinances. How does the city enforce its ordinances? There's no one that's going to come and arrest you for littering. There's no reason for anybody to respect the authority of the city and respect the ordinances unless there's a fine. Now, the city isn't going to spend money and time and energy ticketing people that are never going to pay. So the city has a tendency of ticketing assets. What I mean by that is they don't ticket the litterer, they ticket the property owner that the litter falls on. They don't ticket the jaywalker or the hooker, they'll ticket the person parking their vehicle outside of their home. They ticket assets, they ticket properties, they ticket cars, they ticket assets because that's where they can leverage. They can't make anyone else pay unless they can threaten the possibility of taking away your asset. So,
Take away the guy's shopping cart? Yeah, I don't know. What are you gonna do? Put him in jail. There's not enough room in jail. The jail's full.
well, no, what we
So,
see,
you know,
what we see when the city only tickets assets is that people who are assumed to have no assets start to have a diminished respect for authority. Would you agree with that?
There's a few guys I deal with that don't care about me, don't care about the cops. That's true. They show up, they do what they want, they leave, and what am I going to do about it? And, yeah, I spoke to a couple of uniform officers about it, and they're like, look, we can't put them away for some odd legal reason, so yeah, you're talking legislative at the state level or at least the city level at that point. What do you do?
I feel for the officers in this city. They spend all this time, and they arrest the criminals, and they literally have to arrest the same criminals in the same day.
Yeah, talk to Naomi about that one, because she said that back in Alma Del Mar, that the judges are not convicting people once the police get them in there. It's like, you get them in there, got it. There's the problem,
that's where
documented it, and then people just, she said, a revolving door. They shoot right back out of there, and then we have to do it all over again. It's just a waste of money and time.
I have an idea. Okay. Sure, require landlords to do criminal background checks, but require the judges to make some of these charges stick. You know, why don't you keep the criminals in a place where they don't harm people who don't break the law? What is it? It's prison. Keep them in jail.
Somebody, let's just say, like, there should be if you're going to do this criminal background check thing for the landlords, fine. But when you catch the criminal, and let's just say, I have stabbed a person, and it's been documented. Like, it wasn't somebody else, wasn't, hearsay or some odd...
We can just say
there's evidence that I have stabbed someone. The judge should not have the ability to say you can go free.
Well, then,
you should have
hang on.
an already pre-programmed response.
That's not what happens. That's not what happens. The judge doesn't say that they can go after they've been convicted of a crime. What's happening is the judge lets them go before there's a conviction. The judge...
The DA needs to get involved, some prosecutors, somebody, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, what's the good of that, okay? So now you don't house a bunch of criminals. Making these potential criminals more desperate to do criminal things, you're going to create super criminals that are pissed off that don't have any housing. All right, so now it's not helping the problem, okay? So you're identifying that there's crime in the world. Okay, we all know that. Everyone's grown up in a place where there's crime. Look at even a place like Columbine. There's crime everywhere. Okay, so now what do you do?
He's from Oakland, California.
There's crime there too. The problem is, what do you do after you know about the crime? Do you just not say anything? That's been done. Doesn't help anybody. Do you blame somebody else? Okay, that's been done too. No, you take the criminal, you put him where the criminals go. And that's the problem right now, is that the Bristol County jail? Whatever, is full. It's at capacity. It's like 200-300%.
300%.
300%. 300% of the jail it's at that 3 times the capacity of what it can hold. Build a bigger one. I mean, really.
Build a bigger one. But now we also do have to consider the cost of housing each inmate. I believe it's upwards of $40,000 a year per inmate. $40,000 a year per inmate. That's. Are you willing to have, because that's taxes. You know, that's $40,000 per year per inmate, paid out of your pocket, mine, yours. So there is there's always another side to the coin. We all want lower taxes. We all want the criminals to go to Criminal Island, but we don't want to pay for Criminal Island. And that concludes the first episode of the Citizens Council. Join us on March the 12th as we speak about the next City Council meeting. See you then.